Kleenex announced it will rebrand its Mansized tissues after receiving backlash on social media about the name. Consumers complained the name was sexist. The company behind Kleenex, Kimberly-Clark, said the UK exclusive product will now be called Kleenex Extra Large. The package describes the tissues as confidently strong and comfortingly soft. With more, I want to bring in Brynn. She's a marketing and retail expert joining us today from Toronto. Good morning, Brynn. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Marcia. Thank you.
So let's start with the big question. Why a big Kleenex? Why did the company name it Mansized in the first place?
Yeah, well, this is 60 years old. So in context of 60 years ago in the UK, it was normative for men, for gentlemen to wear and have handkerchiefs. And so Kleenex at the time launched the alternative, which was a disposable Kleenex that would be almost as durable as a handkerchief. And so, in context of that norm of those days, back in the day, that was absolutely an accepted name for it. But of course, 60 years later, now you see consumers reacting to it.
And what's so offensive about calling something man-size if it is bigger and stronger?
Yeah, it's so interesting. As culture changes and gender is a cultural construct, then so does our understanding of gender. And so as, binary gender, we accept that it's no longer binary. It's more of a spectrum. It's more fluid. And binary constructs like that are now perceived to be much more exclusive as opposed to inclusive. And so that is what was, ultimately was the reaction. The woman who put this, that created this firestorm for Kimberly-Clark, was dealing with her son. He was sick, and he couldn't read. He said, "What does that say, Mom?" And she said, "Well, it says that it's man-sized." And he says, "Well, can you use it? Can boys use it? Can girls use it?" And so that's when she tweeted, "This is maybe an outdated name, Kimberly-Clark," and that's when they've decided, of course, to change the name.
So they've changed the name. Now, what about the response? Kimberly-Clark told Britain's Daily Telegraph that it doesn't believe that the man-sized branding suggests anything about gender inequality. What did you make of that response?
Probably not the best response, because it does suggest gender, if not inequality, certainly a binary concept thereof, and that is exclusionary. What would have been better was to describe the fact that when it was launched, which, by the way, in consumer packaged goods, a brand, a SKU that lasts 60 years is a real triumph. Something that lasts that long is an amazing product. This, by the way, was selling still in the UK at $3.5 million a year, which for one SKU is amazing in that category. And so they would have been better off to explain that in context of 60 years ago, this name wasn't offensive and made a lot more sense. Now, of course, men don't carry handkerchiefs, so it's much less likely for it to be understood in that context.
All right, Brynn, marketing and retail expert, thanks so much.
Thank you, Marcia.